Hello and welcome to my Godot 3D movement tutorial. This was suggested by a comment from a previous video, so if there's any tutorial you want to see, please leave a comment below. I also want to start this video off by saying thank you to everybody who liked, comment and subscribed for the previous video. It did incredibly well. So yeah, let's get on with this tutorial. So I'm going to start off by creating a ground for our character to stand on. So I've got just a node 3D in it so far, in the scene so far, and I've named the scene, saved and named the scene main. I'm going to add a child node, and this one is going to be a mesh instance 3D. What I'm also going to do is, if we set this mesh up here, where it says mesh, we can click the arrow or you can click the box, whatever one works, and I'm going to set it to a new plane mesh. So down here, as you can see, we have just a flat plane down here. Alright, so now what I want to do is, as it's just the mesh itself, it's not actually got a collider on it, we need to add a collider. So I will add a, first I want a static body 3D, as this basically means that if I put the mesh on the static body 3D, it basically means that it won't fall, it won't be affected by anything. And then, as you see, it wants a collision shape, so we'll now add onto the static body, we'll add a collision shape 3D, and we'll set it to the same as we'll set it to, where is it, new world bound shape, as you see here, which is also plane. Also, it won't fit, so what we can do is we can change the mesh size by clicking on the picture of the mesh here on the right, and then changing it to 20 by 20, which will fill out the whole mesh. If you don't want it to be that size, you can change to whatever you like, and you can change the collision shape size by doing the same thing. So collision shape, click on the world bound picture here, and you can change the size up here where it says underneath where it says plane. Now what we want is we want to save the scene first, and I'm going to create a new scene, and I want an other node, and we want a character. Oh, if I can spell. There we go. Character body 3D. I see it's missing things. It wants a collision shape, so we'll add a collision shape to it. And the collision shape wants its collision shape to be set, so we'll just set it to a box, as that's the shape I'm going to use. So what we also want to do is also add a mesh to this as well. Mesh instance 3D, and I'm going to set that mesh to box to match our collision shape. You can use like a capsule if you want instead of a box. You'll just have to select a different collision shape and a different mesh here, but I'm using a box because it's easiest. Easiest thing to use. Also going to show you that you can change the colors by going into surface material override on the mesh instance. Click on the arrow and new standard mesh or new standard material 3D. Then click on the orb, and then if you go down to albedo or albedo, whatever you want to call it, click on that. Click on where it says color, and you can change it here like you can in the 2D, and you can change it to whatever color you want. Close that. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save this scene as player. I also want to rename the character body to player, or I'll put player body, I guess. It just helps me understand what exactly it is. I'll save it again because I changed the scene. And then if I go back to our main scene, as you see, the player's not in here because we created it in a separate scene up here. So what we do, if you go down to the file system down here on the bottom left, or mine's on the bottom left, you may have moved yours, but just go to the file system, and if you see player.tscn, if you click on hold and drag that into your scene, it should drag it in. You also may need to move it as well. So move mine up a bit, so it's now not inside the ground. Now what we want to do is I'm going to save that scene, and I'm going to go back to the player scene, and I'm going to attach a script to the player body. So I'm going to click on the player body, and then click on this scroll with a plus at the top here, and it should think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to click on character body 3D basic movement. So now it should use template for the character movement. So if I click create, I can show what it is. There you go. So you see up here, it's got the speed and the jump velocity set. It's also sets gravity here. It has exclamations here for different things and how it's done. So what it does here is it goes to the project settings and it gets a gravity setting and sets it to gravity. It then runs this function here, which is basically an update function, and it uses delta to it basically updates every certain frames, a certain amount of frames. And what it does is, like it says here, it adds gravity, so it checks if the character's not on the floor, or the character body, which is what the script's on. If it's not on the floor, it will make the Y velocity, which is up and down, minus by whatever gravity is. And it times it by delta up here, which basically, why it does this is so it's not affected by like frame rates or anything. It's just a fixed thing. Now what it does down here is it gets it gets an input, and it checks if an action's just happened and if the character's on the floor, and it will increase the velocity by Y. So again, it'll be the up and down, and it increases it by jump velocity, which is set up here. So the player will jump a certain height when a button is pressed. Now if we go down here, what this does is it gets all the input directions, left, right, up and down, and it sets it to input direction or input dia, and it also gets the direction, and it basically creates a transform, basically makes a transform based on the input directions and normalizes it, so it's always 1 basically, so your character won't be moving faster when you're pushing multiple keys down. Then if we go on here, so basically this is getting the setting the speeds, or setting the velocity, sorry. So it will get the speed and the direction and times it, and then that will equal the velocity. And it does the same for X and Z, so that will be forwards, backwards, left and right. And and it just gets all the sets all the velocities for the player's movement. What we need to do now though is to change these UI lefts and rights and UI accept to actual buttons and actions on our keyboards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to project settings, input map, and then what we want is we want a right, we want left, we want forwards, and we want backwards. And we also want jump. So, alright, so I'm going to set right to D, left to A, forwards to W, backwards to S, and jump to space. If we close this, what we can do now is we can go to this UI accept and we can change it to space, or to jump, sorry, because that's what I called it. And then we want UI left to be left, the left that we just sent, and then we want UI right to be right, UI up to be up, UI down to be down. Oh, sorry, we don't want up, we want forwards, because that's what we set it to. And we don't want down, we want backwards. I'm so used to 2D work, I've just got it the wrong way around. But yeah, so we want left, right, forwards, backwards, instead of UI left, UI right, UI forwards, UI up, and UI down. We want left, right, forwards, backwards, like we set it. So alright, if I now save this and we go to our main scene, or go 3D. As you see, I've added a light source here, which I've done through the 3D node. I've gone 3D node and I've right-clicked, I've added a child, and I just searched light. But if you search directional light, it should come up like this one here, and then you can just create that one. And then if you do the same for a camera, you do the same. So just add child node and then go camera 3D, and it should come up. You can just add that to the scene, which is a 3D camera, and then you can move those however you like, and you can change the light color here by going on here and the energy and whatever. And yeah, so now we should be able to hit play and it will work. There we go. As you see, the character moves around nicely. We should be able to jump with space. What we can do, if I close this and go back to the script, we should be able to export these. Export. Oh no, I don't want to change. So if I go export the constant. Okay, we can't export those. Alright, okay, never mind. I'm not sure if we can't export them, but it's quite easy in Godot to just change it in the script here and save it, and it will change in the main scene. Thank you for watching this video. That is the end of the tutorial. The next tutorial I should be getting out is another Godot 3D one to get a working camera. I'll try and sort of go over the first person and third person, maybe. They may have to be two separate videos depending on how difficult it is to do. If you're looking forward to that, or you want to know when that video comes out, please subscribe. Leave a like if you enjoyed this tutorial, and please leave a comment of any future tutorials you want to see or anything you want changed about these videos, as I'll take any feedback I can get. Yeah, thank you, and goodbye.